This Bulgarian recipe is so good and so underrated in my opinion. It makes the most perfect dinner for one, and I'm about to show you how to make it. Mish mash is a really simple dish made by cooking down vegetables and then stirring in some cheese and some eggs at the end. It's just so simple and so good, and I don't really know why it hasn't kind of made its paces around the world as an amazing dish that we should all be making. The first time I had mish mash, my boyfriend's mom had made it, and she put all kinds of stuff in there. There was eggplant and zucchini and peppers and chubrica, which is that summer savory, and it was delicious. But more recently I had it at a restaurant nearby where we're staying here in Varna, and it was a little bit more refined. It was really mostly just peppers and tomatoes, and they were cooked down really nicely, and I loved it. Since then, I've made mish mash for myself several times, and I've kind of got it dialed in to my favorite way to make it, so let's make it. I've got this silly little cutting board that I bought for $5 because this Airbnb didn't have a cutting board. I'm gonna start with the onion, and I only need half. And this mish mash is enough to serve one person pretty generously. It's probably gonna be more like one person with leftovers. And actually, mish mash is pretty good cold from the fridge too. So leftovers are not a bad thing. And I'm gonna chuck the onion into a pot. This is the only pot I have. It's kind of a weird one. It's very cheap and it's got a thin bottom. If you have a Dutch oven or even just a heavy bottom frying pan, that would work if the sides are high enough. This is just all I've got. I'm gonna add a little bit of oil. This is olive oil, but traditionally it would be sunflower oil because that's what's used more commonly around here. And then I'm just gonna sweat the onion for about 5 minutes with a bit of salt while I prep the other ingredients. I love these huge Bulgarian peppers. They're so nice. Bulgaria is definitely very well known for their peppers. And then I'll add the garlic to the peppers and get that all lined up to go in. I'm using 3 cloves. 3 big juicy cloves. After the onions have been sweating for 5 minutes or so, I'll add the peppers and the garlic. And while the peppers are cooking down with the onions, I'll just chop the tomato. A lot of recipes I see call for peeled tomatoes, and that's really just a personal preference. I don't mind the skin, so I'm leaving it on. I'm just gonna cut it into chunks. This is a nice one. So the onions, the peppers, the garlic, and the tomatoes are all cooking down together in that little pot. I did put the lid on because I like to have a little bit of the steam kind of help cook things along. And that's gonna take a good 15 minutes. We really wanna cook things down till they're quite mushy. I think this would be a great thing to try in the Instant Pot because it would cook things down really quickly under that pressure. I'll try it when I get home. While we wait for that to cook, I'll show you some clips from Varna, which is where we've been for about the past week or so. It's such a nice town. There are so many nice restaurants and bars all along the water. During the day, it's all families and young people, old people, everybody's sunbathing and swimming. And then as day turns to evening into the late night, the nightlife really starts to happen, and there's tons of good music and people dancing, and there are kids playing until well after midnight on the beach while the parents are hanging out and socializing, which is just so lovely. After about 15 minutes, the peppers are now looking quite soft and they're starting to kind of fall apart, and that's what I want. So I took the lid off and I'm just gonna let it cook until a bit more of the liquid evaporates. I don't want there to be any kind of wateriness left in the pot. I want it to be this nice kind of thickened, stewy mixture. I've grabbed some briny white cheese, feta style cheese, and I have 2 eggs that I've scrambled up in a bowl. I just grabbed a pepper out of the pot to give it a taste and see if there's enough salt, keeping in mind that I'm about to add a bunch of salty cheese. So flavorful. Everything is cooked down just the way I like it, so I'm gonna turn the heat way, way down, and then I'm gonna add in the cheese that I'm just gonna crumble in with my fingers, and then add in the eggs and just stir it together. This part might seem a little bit weird, but you really do just dump the scrambled eggs right into the pot, and they cook so nicely in the pepper and tomato mixture. You want to make sure that the heat is really low or even off at this point, because you don't want the eggs to cook super, super hard. You kind of want them to cook in the residual heat of the tomatoes and the peppers, and they get super creamy and luxurious. And then with the cheese all together, it's so nice, you guys. And once the eggs are in, you just keep stirring until the mixture reaches the desired thickness that you want. And then you just put it in a bowl. And one ingredient that I forgot about at the beginning is just finishing with a little bit of fresh parsley, which is always a nice touch. Let's plate it up. I think this is a totally reasonable amount for one person, especially because it's mostly veggies and a couple eggs and a little bit of cheese. Look at that. All right, here's the finished mishmash. You guys, this shit is so good. Oh, it's so creamy and luxurious and flavorful. The peppers, the tomatoes, the garlic, a little bit of fresh parsley, and that cheese. Oh my God. And if you wanted to make this an express breakfast, you could make up a big batch of the tomato and pepper mixture and keep it in the fridge, and then you could just warm it up, add the cheese and the eggs in the morning when you're ready to eat it. I'll eat this any time of day. I'm obsessed with this. This is so good. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you enjoy the looks of this mishmash and that you go and give it a try. The full recipe will be down below in the description box, and I just cannot recommend this enough. It is such a great dinner, lunch, or breakfast. For one, you can make it in a big batch for more people. It's just such a winner. Thanks for joining me this week, and I'll see you next time.